this might be a tough decision right now.
My team did
not just
absolutely garbage.
NFL games that were like,
Right.
whoa.
I actually don't
Had
know.
a lot of mixed feelings. Welcome, Disgruntled. We have another guest here on the Legal Domains.
Alright, podcast is live.
Nice.
Tyler, aka Trace Gates, aka Cheers Time Media is out.
AKA the lighting man for this episode. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is for you. Cheers.
Have fun, guys.
Yes, cheers.
Mama
It's a good clapper, actually, the door.
Yeah, what a good way to start the episode, am I right?
Yeah.
Good glass of
Yeah, I
wine.
can put it back.
Thank you. And I pimped out Jarek. And I also named Jarek. But this is not what the episode is
Definitely close this one.
about. Oh, crap, I forgot.
You got to hear that Philly ambiance, but no longer. We don't like it.
Back to the regular scheduled program. This week is week 18. We're going to be reviewing the week 17 of the NFL predictions, and I feel like this has been a very eventful week, but I kind of want to start off with Monday night's game.
Sure, yeah, I think.
Just because of how big of the news it is.
Hold on,
Justified.
I'm interrupting. I forgot my phone in here somewhere. Yep, I see it.
Hey, we got a phone finding.
Yep,
Phone finding.
phone finding. Alright, now I'm really gone. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Phone finding with friends.
And loved ones all across the world, where your loved ones find phones. But
On that note, Monday Night Football. I think it's the last Monday Night Football game because this weekend it's only Saturday and Sunday. It was a clash of Titans, but not the Tennessee Titans. It was the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills, who both still have a chance to get the number 1 seed over the Kansas City Chiefs. It's very high stakes overall. Obviously, they've both clinched the playoffs, but to get that number 1 seed would mean a bye week in the playoffs, and everyone knows how big deal that is. You know, it's kind of like at your own Super Bowl in a way, because, you know, whereas the playoffs are just like the later stretch of the season, the regular season is the majority of what you're playing for. And I think it's just as big of a deal when you do get the number 1 seed. I think that shouldn't get like understated or swept under the rug. Anytime you get the number 1 seed, that means you were the best team through the majority of the season. Even if it wasn't when the stakes were the highest, when we kind of designate it in the winter, I still think it matters. And so we were witnessing some high level football for the first 10-ish minutes of the game, until something very tragic happened. Would you like to explain that, Caleb?
yeah, and I personally didn't watch it, so I didn't watch it live. But the play that ensued was, I believe it was a T. Higgin catch.
Yes.
Right, for a first down. And then, I forget his name.
Damar Hamlin.
Damar Hamlin,
Safety or...
number 3.
Yeah, number 3 for the Buffalo Bills. Defender out of Pittsburgh.
And he made a tackle on the play. And it looked like it was a normal tackle. It didn't, like... There wasn't anything, like, too, like, scary about it or too, like, unnormal. But and it looked normal. He got up, but then moments later or seconds later,
Yeah.
he immediately fell backwards and went into cardiac arrest. And the game ended up getting canceled, or not canceled, postponed or suspended.
Postponed as of right now, as of Wednesday, January 4th, 6:30 p.m. Yeah, they had to do CPR on the field for multiple minutes, bringing the ambulance onto the field. It is an unprecedented event and tragedy that almost led to a really big controversy within the NFL because players started to warm up again. Notably, I remember seeing Joe Burrow starting to toss the ball again with some idea that they were supposed to get back to playing almost 5 minutes after Damar Hamlin had been officially taken off the field into the hospital. A lot of drama ensued. The coaches got together and we don't know about that. The refs started talking to them and said, okay, you can go back to the locker rooms while we figure out the state of the game going forward, but not there was no urgency to actually postpone it, which was the weird part. I think at any point when you see something that traumatic on the field, I feel personally as though the idea of the game restarting shouldn't even come to mind. So it was weird that all of that confusion ensued, and I think the NFL executives have like really tried to sweep that under the rug and say like, oh, we did not give that okay, we were not involved in that decision or in that confusion. I don't know exactly how it went about, but the other crazy part of this is I feel like, unfortunately, this keeps happening to the Bengals in prime time because this is also the same season where Tua Tagovailoa went down on the field with another concussion, his first official concussion of the season. As we now know, he got another one, and he's been out for a couple games now. And there's some rising concerns in the player safety and how to go about that within the NFL. But what is of utmost importance, of course, is Damar Hamlin, who is still in the intensive care unit. Status of him is uncertain, but he is still stable. That is what his family has confirmed. So.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs visited him. He did not opt to get on the airplane or the team airplane back home, but he ended up going to the hospital to see him and visit him to be there. And he almost didn't get in by reports because like the cops like didn't want anyone to come in as of now, but he kind of like talked his way in. And I don't know how long he was there for, but yeah, there is a lot of speculation with just how the performance like you were talking about, and I was just, since I didn't like see it, I didn't know like what the actual like footage was, and there's a lot of like controversy, even though that they didn't like end up playing. There's a lot of controversy of like kind of how long they drawn it out for, like you were kind of talking about, and how they were playing commercials during it, and like I didn't have like the full emotional range since I didn't see it live, but just seeing like some people like reacting to it on their phones and stuff, and I just got a very eerie sense of kind of seeing all the fans there in the stadium, an empty football field, and the announcers not knowing what to do, what to say, and then it cutting to commercial like a couple of seconds later. And I don't know, that just like didn't feel right to me, and I don't know, like I just feel like you needed to like cut it sooner. Or like I don't know how you would go about that, but it just even if regardless of like the intent, which I think is kind of like fucked up by the NFL to still run ads or like to like keep it for that long, but just like without like all like that like controversy surrounding it, it's still like eerie after like witnessing like that happening, and then cutting straight to commercial.
Well, what I will. On the other side of that, I don't think. Well, firstly, it's not like the NFL's decision to run ads. It would be ESPN since they are the broadcaster. And also, when even though the people that are commentating and the analyst desk, their job is to be journalists at the end of the day. Even they were there, witnessing this event. So it's hard for them to just like stick around and keep talking about the same thing over and over. Keep contemplating and divulging into the uncertainty, because then that gets into iffy territory as well, as like, one of them could have ended up being very performative about it, or one of them could have started speculating a lot of things, and then that would lead to bad PR, of course. So I don't think there is any one right way to go about it. In fact, I even think that going to ads, just because it's getting away from the spectacle of it, not to like call it a spectacle, but it becomes a spectacle when it is broadcasted for the nation, and there is literal talent being paid to talk about it. Like, obviously, I don't like the capitalistic nature of it going to ads, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we are getting away from it, and people aren't able to just tune in for the sake of seeing, like, that car accident sensation is like, oh, it's a terrible thing, but you can't help but look. You know what I mean? So I think there's like pros and cons to it both, but like it's unprecedented and there's no right way to go about it in my mind. I think at the end of the day, from like when I was watching the Aftermath live, seeing Adam Schefter and Burger McFarland talk about it, like I think they did a really good job at handling the situation and like kind of being like there's nothing left to say, kind of like stopping themselves from going on a tangent and like clearly showing how like distressed they were rather than trying to keep it professional and like clean. And then the after show, which is with Scott Van Pelt, I forget who he was talking to, a former NFL player who's now an ESPN analyst. They had a really open and honest conversation that like I thought was like a very good way to go about it. So that's what I'll say about the broadcasting of it, which is like it's so terrible that it is in front of the masses and then also on a national scale at probably one of the higher like stake points of the season as far as like the competition goes. But when it happens, like you have to be prepared to, you know, try to go about it as maturely and professionally as possible. Yeah.
And I also want to touch on too, like injuries. Like I just took this past semester a sports class, and you took the same sports class too. But like there's like multiple the reason why I bring that up is because there was like multiple conversations throughout like the semester of like football in the next like 10 years and where the future is going to lie. And this year has just been a pinpoint of that, or like on a magnitude of that. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's always question about football and like player safety and everything. And I don't know, I feel like there's like something in the air for this year, like with the Tua's concussion and how he was stumbling, and then the second hit, the next game after, with him having like his hands kind of like in a frozen position, and then there's multiple other players with concussions that stumbled on the field. I think Chris Olave had one that was pretty bad. They kind of froze on the field, and Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and then there's a Colt guy too, a Colts player as well, that like stumbled. And yeah, it's just, and then too, after what happened on Monday night, like I feel like that just like magnified everything about it. And I'm like curious about how the longevity of football is going to be in the next like 5, even 10 years. Like it's a lot closer to the possible end, maybe, or it seems closer to that. If I don't know how far away we are from like canceling football as a sport, because like I don't know how you could make it like safe, because it's like people hitting each other and tackling each other at full force. But it's calls into question, I feel like, this year a lot more than previous years, and it's going to be, I don't know where like how you progress football from this point on.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is like they've invested a lot more research. They've put a lot more money into research, developing technology to handle it, to make sure like even like the shape of the helmets is the most optimal for like player safety. But I think there's only so far you can go, and I think it's like the same thing across all sports. NFL is just in a weird situation where yes, it is like way more contact than the other contact sports. I think it is always going to be just like an issue that, you know, players themselves kind of like, obviously they're getting a lot of money for it, so that's an easy way to sway them by the NFL. But this is still their dream to like play, you know. It's always tragic when these sort of things happen, but at the same time, it kind of comes with the terrain. I do feel like there are additional measures that can be taken in that direction. Do I think that it will eventually lead to the downfall of the NFL? Maybe the NFL as an organization, but as a sport, I still think it has enough popularity to still thrive, even if it's not on a professional level, at least like in college or in high school. And like it's even starting to get attention for like being a possible Olympic event at LA in 2028. So I don't know. I think obviously changes should be made, but I don't think anything will be as like I don't think there will come to a point of like this ultimatum like the NFL needs to do something or they're completely canceled. I feel like unfortunately they actually just like have so much power and wealth that like and like fansmanship that I don't think it will actually happen. I don't know. I personally can't really like tell my truth as far as like what I think is the right thing because it's such a nuanced situation that like I haven't seen all sides of. But yeah, well, you were like listing all the players, and I started thinking of some more. Like you could even talk about this week with Nick Foles and the Snow Angel that Thibodeau that celebration he was doing next to him while Nick Foles was clearly not okay. Thibodeau has since claimed that he didn't know, but he did look, and I don't know. I think there's just something weird about. I think there's something weird about celebrating next to a person that you've taken down. Like there's a moral implication there that I just feel is very odd. Like I like it more when like players like run away from that. That way, like if something serious does happen, like the paramedics can go to the player with ease and not have to like push you out of the way, you know? So there was that. Then there was also, I don't know if you remember, but there was a primetime game with the Giants where one of the receivers went down late game when, Daniel Jones led offense was trying to make a comeback. That was a big deal. I remember that vividly.
And then also too with the Eagles game, I think I didn't watch like the first half of the first quarter, so I don't know exactly how it happened. But Josh Sweat ended up taken to the hospital too, and he was like he was almost like unconscious, I believe, or I just heard a snippet from Jason Kelsey on the New Heights podcast. But yeah, he ended up going to the hospital, and luckily he's okay too. Yeah. But that just adds on to like all the injuries, and that's not even to take account in all of the ACL tears and stuff.
Right, because I mean that's the whole debate, like turf versus grass. Like players like Odell Beckham Jr., who notably had a non-contact injury during the Super Bowl, has been like talking a lot about on Twitter how every field needs to be grass from here on out, and how turf has like led to more of those non-contact injuries. And I think that's exactly it. Like there's things you can do, but like there's it all comes down to like money and affordability and shit like that. But like I think the more these things keep happening, not that I want them to keep happening, but it will start to like make the NFL realize like, okay, this is not good for our look. We have to make those changes, like put more and more money into that, no matter how unaffordable it may seem. Like they have all the money in the world. They're the most financially successful sports organization. Like that is without a doubt. So they just gotta do it. At this point I feel like you can't hold back anymore. You gotta get the owners together and tell them like this is how it's gonna go.
But yeah, with the like postponement of the game too, it also raises like questions of how the NFL is going to take into account that for this week, and if they are even going to like reschedule it as a whole. There's a lot of debate or controversy about what would be like the morally correct thing to do, and I honestly don't know, because like.
Well, the way I see it is, I mean, these teams are still going to play Sunday, no matter what. Like, that isn't even up to debate. So, like, I mean, these teams both want to compete for a Super Bowl and get the highest seed they can. I feel like it is in the both teams' like interest. Like, I feel like they all would still want to play. Obviously, like what happened on Monday night is like you can't continue after you seeing that, not so soon. But I think from what I've seen, at least, it's the players are like still wanting to play. It's just like, where do you find the time with it being at this point in the season where like playoffs are right around the corner, and it's like, you know, both of these teams are like trying to reach the number 1 seed where they would like get a bye week, but you might even have to forego that just even to fit this game into like a hypothetical week 19, as like a lot of people have been suggesting. Like, I don't know, there's like, it's weird on a logistical level, but I think ultimately what I would say is like, I don't think there should be so much pressure on whether or not the game gets played. I think ultimately I could see it getting canceled, even if both teams want to play. I just feel like on a logistical level, and I guess even what you're saying on a moral level, it's just like, it's so weird because also, you know, technically 10 minutes of that game was played. You know, a very subliminal portion of that game, but it was, and it's weird. Like, do you forego those 10 minutes? Do you like restart completely? It's all a very like weird like mess as far as like the fairness of the game. I feel like when something this tragic and unprecedented happens, where it's like not written into the rules at all, you can't just make shit up like mid-season. Like, I feel like that's unfair. I feel like now that they've postponed the game, it's just like, okay, mid-game as well, by the way, you just gotta cancel it. You just gotta like hand out ties, or even just like don't give a number, you know, to it. Just say like, okay, you remain just with 15 games, you know what I mean? Or 16 games once they play the next week. I think that's just like, I think that's the way you should go about it personally.
Yeah, I agree. And
hey, yeah.
Sorry.
fucking
It's all good.
bitch. This guy. But I lost my train of thought. Fuck you, Brendan. I needed to say that louder, but I didn't want to scream into the mic. But yeah, it's an interesting dilemma, to say the least. And I'm surprised that like no NFL games have been canceled or suspended. Not to like this specific reason, because like what you said, it's like unprecedented. But like even with like a snowstorm or like a weather.
Well, they have, because COVID.
Oh yeah.
They were like we had games on like Tuesday.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
But that was like the only point where that happened, and the issue with that is like they postponed it before the game started. They already started this game, so like how to go about that is the weird part. I just don't think you can. I think you just gotta forget about it, honestly. But
yeah,
until you write more specific like rules into, I don't know, whatever the rule book is, like the protocol about how to go about that, because it doesn't feel like they've really determined a protocol for that, which is weird. I feel like they should have, not that they should ever like, you know, anticipate an injury at this scale, but like with the way their game is, the nature of the physical exertion, to say the least. I think that should be something that they should have been ready for, and it looks very like unorganized, the way they've gone about it, the way they're like, okay, 5 minutes, even if it wasn't the NFL themselves, the way players were made to believe, okay, they only have 5 minutes to get ready, and then they were like put into their locker room and had to wait for a while in anticipation, trying to like think about what they had just saw while also trying to stay in this competitive mindset because that's their job. Not that I feel like a lot of them had that mindset, but it is natural for some people too. Just when, like, I mean, you've been working all season for this. Yeah, I think it's just like so much weird chaos that went into that just like could have been so avoided. But yeah, it shows real lack of foresight from the NFL, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. And also too, obviously not that I would ever want this, because it's like obviously tragic, but I'm surprised that like this serious of an injury hasn't happened in like NFL or like in the NFL, because I know there's been like a few cases where like high school students, and I guess like a lot of decades ago, like NFL players when it was not as televised. I just know that I just said contradicted that, but or that statement is kind of contradictory. But I'm just surprised that that this serious of an injury hasn't happened on live TV at this point in time.
Yeah.
Just like what you were saying with how physical it is and everything.
Yeah, I do think like the measures do help with like helmets and like all the other things, because for something this severe to happen where it's not just like you getting like stretchered off, but like actually having like received CPR and all of that, it has to like that sort of thing would have to occur to something that like refers to like your brain or your heart, which are like, as like anatomy wise, are the most protected areas of your body. And then as far as NFL mandated uniform, those are also very protected parts of the body as well. So it's very hard to reach those areas, but like things like, you know, your ankle, which we see all the time, unfortunately, those aren't really any better because they still require a lot of rehab, even just to like get over, not even to get NFL ready or professional sport ready, but just to get over an injury like that is still very difficult for like anyone. Like one of my like first memories of something like to that scale was like Paul George in the All-Star game. That was very graphic. And yeah, I think that's kind of what I mean by like it's so hard to like gauge like how much of this is avoidable and how much is not, because it's, I don't know, I feel like there's only so much you can do, but does that mean do you like cancel all sport? I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation. I think the biggest part of it to me is like the glorification of like getting injuries and coming back from it. That to me, like, obviously I feel like it's a big deal to be able to overcome that, but it also like feeds into this like on a fan scale, like, oh, that's something they should or are expected to get over because that's good character. That's what a good player does. You know what I mean? And so when they don't, then all of a sudden there's like this fan's expectation is like, oh, then they're just weak, you know? And I don't like that. Like, obviously I feel like people should get the credit of overcoming those physical burdens because that is very impressive. But at the same time, I don't think players that aren't able to overcome that or do get hurt to this degree should be, you know, sent death threats as they have in the past. Like, people are always like on Twitter, always like, oh, that dude's injury prone and blah 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 blah. It's like, I mean, come on, they're like putting their whole body on the line every night for your satisfaction and also, you know, their wallet, to be fair. But like at the same time, that's their livelihood, and most people's livelihood isn't putting their body on the line. There should be some respect for that.
Yeah, and if you get like a serious injury like that, you're a lot more likely to re-injure that same location as well. And and I wanted to also like mention as well, like, even on like T. Higgins' side too, like, he's been getting like death threats as well, and like, and everyone's calling him like a murderer. Like, why would you like hit him? That was like such a dirty hit. Like, and I just feel bad for him too, because it's like he was just like playing the sport, and it was like he didn't do like anything wrong. Like, he was just playing the sport, and it was just like an awkward tackle that was like 1 in a trillion chance of happening too.
In fact, that's so backwards, because a lot of the time that happens like defensive players that end up, you know, hurting offensive players. Like, I mean, recently there was like the Stephon Gilmore, Justin Jefferson debate, whether or not Gilmore's hit on JJ was dirty during that massive comeback. And in this case, it's T. Higgins not trying to engage in that, you know, running away from it, in fact, and he's the one getting death threats. And I think that's just like, it really goes to show like how like weird the sports hive mind is. And it makes it even worse when it's like it's so ridiculous I even have to bring this up, but like the fantasy championship week. And how like people are like, oh, now it's uncertain whether or not I'll win my fantasy championship because T. Higgins didn't get his 5 catches, and it's like, oh my god, it's like, just shut up. Like, there's so many like more important things than your little fantasy championship. I don't care how much money you put into it. Like, I just hate I hate sports culture a lot, and like this event honestly has like isolated me from sports discourse within this past week, because it's just like a lot of it just like turns into like a performative shtick, and it's so annoying. And it's like it's hard to decipher like who's really like looking out for someone's best interest, or who's trying to save their ass in terms of like the NFL, like knowing that this is a huge like PR scandal. It's so much mess that I wish there was a way to like really try to figure out, like, as a fan base, because that's the only like kind of perspective I can use to try and like navigate this, is like, how can we be better supporters, like more mature, and to the point where like athletes don't hate us. Because I feel like there's a growing disconnect between the athletes and the fans, which fantasy plays a part of that, and like betting that's risen a lot. And, a lot of athletes have had to come forward and say, I don't give a fuck about your fantasy. I don't give a fuck about the $5 you bet on, It's so difficult, and there's so much immaturity. Like, it also doesn't help that, like, sports from its origins are, like, a hyper-masculine... have a lot of like hyper masculinity associated with it, and that is still the case to this day, and that plays a huge part into the immaturity and the toxicity around organized sports and the capitalization of it. I feel like that's all I have to say about this matter, just because I don't know, I don't want to go on too many more tangents and like start speculating, I guess, because that's not what we're here to do.
And let's speculate. You came to the right place.
No.
No, I'm just joking.
No.
But yeah, the last thing that I would say about this, and then we can move on too. But like this, for how like I feel like I need to reset the camera.
The camera has been down for a couple of minutes, I think. But that's okay. Listen to our words.
Yes, listen to our beautiful voices, but try to like turn around the thing so I couldn't see.
That's what I realized as well.
And I didn't want to like stand up mid during that talk either to like fix it. But the last thing that I would say too is, it's interesting how sports fans, the NFL, and just how like reporters respond to this, about how kind of exposed this industry kind of got. Not that, I would say like exposed. Regardless, I don't know, that might not necessarily be a bad thing. Well, it is. No, never mind. Oh, well, it may, because like when I hear like exposed, like I feel like it's like really bad, but I don't know, like it got exposed in multiple ways, mostly bad, but like I guess like the more like simpler terms of like what we went over is like, what are you going to do like to postpone games, but kind of just like how raw this was, and even like what I mean specifically by this is like how reporters and commentators were kind of responding to it, about how kind of they get fed a script in a way when they're talking about like sports. Not like a script, like there's like opinions here and there, but I feel like kind of how like professional and like kind of how like the NFL is ran, if that makes any sense. Like I don't know, I feel like there was like a different vibe where like it was like more raw, and it's like people were just like saying what actually like is in their head, and actually like getting like emotional and stuff, because like I've like seen like multiple like accounts of like people just like going on rants and saying like what's wrong with NFL. Not like rants, but like just getting emotional about like what's wrong with NFL, how like what to do. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those rarities where you actually see raw emotion, because this is such a raw human event of like seeing someone almost possibly die and given CPR for 8 minutes, and it's just like interesting to see how like people react to that and actually like allow their emotions to run what they say while they're on TV rather than more of like a professional script. And I just thought that was like interesting.
Right. Yeah. A lot of sports media is pretty scripted. Unless there is some crazy shit going on, there's no way this could have been. Yeah, it's very unfortunate, because I'm just thinking like for Damar Hamlin's sake, like trying to like feed into like the mind of a professional athlete who is on a really great team. Like, I just hope like the aftermath of this, once he does inevitably get better, I hope he doesn't feel like he let his team down, because like I feel like a lot of time when you're like in your career paths, especially with how much focus on this there is from like the outside world, you just get so tunnel vision into the common goal of like, oh, a Super Bowl and all of that. And I just hope he doesn't feel any pressure in the aftermath of this once he inevitably gets better. So yeah, prayers go out to Damar Hamlin.
And I will put his foundation so you can donate below in the description below. $5 million raised so far, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's nearing 6 if it hasn't already reached it. I do recall, just because I follow like the Colts media people on Twitter, Jim Irsay and the Colts donated a lot to that cause, and I think that is one of the cool things to see. Even, I don't know, maybe a degree of this is performative, it's hard to decipher, but it's cool to see like all the teams recognize like, okay, this is a common issue for all of us. Like, it may not be our player, he may have never been in our facilities, but as a league, as an organized sport, we take a stand for, you know, his livelihood, essentially. And I think that is cool to see all fan bases kind of unite under that sentiment.
Yeah.
So.
And by putting like his number 32 jersey all over the stadiums and stuff as well. And like I heard that like a bunch of like NFL teams had like meetings about this specifically and everything. Even
outside of football, we've seen it in other organized sports with like I think a lot of basketball players have started talking about this too. TJ McConnell for the Pacers, he wore his jersey going into the Pacers game against the Sixers, because they both come from Pittsburgh, I believe. So yeah, we can I think we should like skim over this week, just because honestly I didn't get to watch too much of this other than like obviously the Eagles game, a little bit of the Colts game. I was kind of focused on Detroit. I don't know. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever the big headlines you think there are, like, we can talk about. But I'm fine with like just skimming over, honestly.
Yeah, I guess I want to say at least like the score. I guess we don't even have to say the scores and who won.
People have Google.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about our thoughts about the scores and who won.
Fuck Dallas.
Yeah.
Fuck Dallas. Dak Prescott, you suck. He like is in the like top 3 with most interceptions, and he missed like 5 games.
That's true.
And he has so many interceptions. Like you're so bad, Dak. But you know the Titans, Cowboys. The Titans like fought pretty welly the first
welly.
Welly.
Just well. Just say well.
Well.
They fought pretty well.
Yeah.
Where did the league come from? Anyways, yeah, they were playing their QB3, Dobbs.
Yeah.
Who was a major prospect coming into the league. I believe he was actually drafted by the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. and he had never thrown a touchdown in the NFL until this game. So against the best defense in the league, or one of the better ones. Sorry, Caleb. We can get into that later. I think that's pretty impressive. I always feel like the Titans are one of the better coached teams in the league, and they can make do with whatever professional athlete kind of steps into their building, and that's coming from a Colts player. I'm not a Colts player. I'm a Colts fan. That's coming from a Colts fan, so it's the truth. I feel like whenever you can give credit to another team for something and they're your rival, that's as true as it can get.
I agree. It's so true.
Titans will play the Jaguars for the game that matters. This game didn't really matter to the Titans because, like, you know, if they won, there was like a 1% chance that they could get in as a wild card team. But really what matters is winning the division to them, obviously. And that comes up this next week. So, which Dobbs will also, I think he's starting that as well. So,
yeah,
going to be interesting to see, like, maybe they can get Derrick Henry rolling instead of trying to, like, force the pass game. We'll see.
Yeah, Malik Wallace. Is that how Willis. I don't know why I said Wallace. I was like, that's
Malik, I'm pretty sure.
Malik. I should not have tried to pronounce his name, but he sucks.
Wow, really? You think? Yeah. He's a rookie.
Yeah,
give him a chance.
Yeah. I was just making fun of him because when your stats are compared, or when you have a stat that is compared to Nathan Peterman, that's a pretty bad comparison or a stat that you do not want to have. And
isn't Peterman starting for a team?
No. He's on the Bears behind Justin Fields.
No, yeah, he's starting for them.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. Week 18, he will be starting for him.
Really?
Yeah, because Justin Fields is out with an injury. Yep.
What? That's so funny. I did not know that. I did not know that he had an injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had those stats that I'm referring to is that he had 4 straight 100-yard pass, under 100 yards passing for the entire game when started. And the only other player to do that is Nathan Peterman.
Name one receiver that plays for the Tennessee Titans. Go.
Robert Woods.
Okay. Name 2.
Treylon Burks.
He barely, because he's been injured as well. Okay, but you've proven you can name him. You can name him, but
yeah.
Speak to their prowess now.
I was just messing with you. Yeah.
I don't like the better rep of the Titans get because they've always been built as a run-first team. Offensive line, good. Derrick Henry, we all know. And then the defense. Whoo! Defense balled, actually. I always forget the safety's name because I tried not to think about the Titans a lot. But he had a really great game. I think it was 2 interceptions, no?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was the one guy, so that's good. Shout out to Vrabel. I will always give him his flowers no matter what team he coaches for.
All right, that's enough talking about our
both of our rivals, honestly. That's crazy. We can now talk about how the Lions beat the Bears and
job,
are now in a position where they can make the playoffs.
Let's go.
They will be playing Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers for second place in the division and the 7th seed, aka wild card, due to the recent playoff expansion over the past couple of years. And that's a really big deal because the Lions have not been good for a very long time.
Yeah. And the fact that they're in the playoffs makes it even better.
Could be. And they could be at a point where they could be eliminated by the time Sunday night happens because technically if the Seahawks win, that means that the Lions are eliminated. Mm-hmm. And it would take Green Bay to beat the Lions no matter what, no matter if the Seahawks win or not, in order to get in, just because of all the tiebreakers and all the weird shit that goes on. But because I know that Mr. MCDC out in Detroit, as great of a coach as he is, you know, he's one of those rah-rah guys. He doesn't care if he gets eliminated or not. He's going to take Green Bay down with him if that's what it takes. They want to get to a positive record as well because right now they're at 8-8. If they losing record once again, same old news. But if they get 9-8, that's a big deal. Even if you miss the playoffs, I'd rejoice. I would be like the Minnesota Timberwolves when they won that play-in game. Patrick Beverly, KAT just running around, going crazy like they would won the championship. Because like that's a big deal for these like smaller franchises that like have had a lot of, you know, rough history.
I agree, and we don't need Aaron Rodgers.
Plus, it's a divisional rival. They've been in the playoffs for like a decade straight. take them out.
Yeah,
Take 'em out.
the Packers have been in the playoffs for a little too long. I'm tired of Aaron Rodgers and playoffs. I don't want those two names to be ever associated again.
True.
But
Now we can talk about how the Colts put up as many points as the 3-12 Bears with no offensive line, no receivers, because the Colts are essentially the same thing at this point, which at the beginning of the season I would never have said. But they started Nick Foles, ended with Sam Ehlinger. Ehlinger did get a touchdown. Shout outs after Foles was out with an injury. Unfortunate. I think a lot of people have seen the Thibodeau celebration at this point, which, you know, I will give him a little bit benefit of the doubt because he also is a rookie and like he's young, naive.
But still, I feel like that's
Very disrespectful, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, it's just one of those things. I don't know. Like, a lot of players have done a lot of dumb shit. I mean, we talk about Myles Garrett all the time. We know what he's done.
no, not Sue.
Yeah, but
They're
Sue
not-
has always been that way. I feel like Sue like has a long record of that behavior. If I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, even in college, I remember actually when he was playing in college, my uncle was like, he's never going to succeed in the NFL with that attitude. And then he had a really like good career though. So it's kind of funny how that panned out.
Yeah, I
But,
feel like he's a Hall of Famer.
yeah. Ooh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But the Giants.
They clinched.
Forgot to give them their ties. Give me a second. They are a playoff team. When Caleb Leonza said they would be 5-12, being the fourth in the
Like-
NFC.
My predictions are so off. It's all red, and you got a lot of green.
Yeah, I do, but also I feel like we were probably just as successful in the playoffs because, like, I had the Colts and Broncos in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, I had some bad misses too, but yeah, you were pretty inconsistent. I would say. Well, we can get into that later actually because we only have one more week before we tally up these points. But because we did this game, a prediction game, where I predicted all the records of the AFC side, he predicted all the records of the NFC side, and there's like a point system. We'll get into that, but. Yeah, what I will say about the Colts is I am so glad they are losing and losing this bad because it means no more Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
We're not going to entertain Jeff Saturday being a coach any longer than this season. He is helping the tank job, and that is all that matters. Like, I will cheer for him and be happy that he's our coach as long as it gets us into, like, I guess we're at 5 now, the 5th draft pick. So I think we could go as high as 4. And as low as like 6, something like that. So I just want to push it as far as we can. Try to get one of those elite quarterbacks that are coming out of a really deep quarterback class this year. Honestly, I think we got lucky that this is the year where it all crumbled because it could have been way worse last year with Wentz, but we ended up finishing at like 0.500 ish. So to me, it's like we could have ended up with Malik Willis or something. I don't know.
Imagine.
Could have been something like that, but instead, we get to rejoice with this really good quarterback class. And honestly, even if we don't do it this year, we probably won't be much better next year, and we'd have another chance next year with another great quarterback class, led by Caleb Williams.
Yes, me. I won the Heisman, but that won't happen, Titus, because I have some bad news.
What is the bad news? Is
You guys are getting Derek Carr. I don't know how to tell you that, but
that's what a lot of people are saying, but I think that only happens if we draft as well.
Mhm.
That way that we have like a veteran lead like in there that is like starter worthy that can like help the rookie learn. I don't think there's any way where we just get another bridge quarterback without drafting one.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a universe where that happens.
I want that to happen. I want to. I just think that would be so funny. The series of unfortunate events for the Indianapolis Colts.
I wouldn't be mad if we got Derek Carr. I just don't think it's like a long-term solution. And I think there's no future, there's no possible way where Chris Ballard makes another mistake like that. I think he has a very, very tiny string that is keeping him hanging on to this job in Indianapolis. And I don't think he makes another move like that because it's been way too long. Phillip Rivers, Wentz, now Matt Ryan. It's just like, And then also getting Foles as well as your QB2 and then demoting him to QB3 and then later on bringing him up to QB1 under the worst offensive line in the NFL and just letting him get wrecked. Like, I just don't think there's any more cases for Chris Ballard to get away with these really mediocre quarterback moves. I just don't think that happens. So
I think he needs to be fired and eliminated from the NFL.
If anyone should have gotten fired between Chris Ballard and Frank Reich,
it was probably Chris Ballard.
It should have been Chris Ballard.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni said his piece actually
Yeah.
when he beat the Colts in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. He said, "Fuck you, Colts fans."
He did not say that.
You caused this.
But very close. He got very close. He got very in his feelings about that, and rightfully so. Love Nick Sirianni. You keep doing you. We should get a head of Nick Sirianni.
I agree. I would kiss that every morning. On the forehead.
Right. Speaking of the Eagles, they lost.
Shut up. Okay.
They scored 10 points.
Well,
just as much as the Colts,
Arizona
who
Cardinals
are tanking. Just as much as the Bears, who are tanking. Just as much as Washington, led by Wentz. Just as much as the Rams, led by Mayfield. 10 points. You want to talk about that?
I'm good, thank you. This game, I don't like this. As Eagles fans, we're spoiled, I think, because this, at least for this year, we're not spoiled any time else, because we have a miserable team in which our luck is always so bad. But this year we got spoiled, and you can't say otherwise. So to have an actual loss, I don't know. I feel like this is I don't know. This is next to the Washington game as the worst loss. I guess there's only one other one, and that would be the Cowboys. But I don't know. I just feel like we should have won this game. And the fact that the first round, or the Saints' first round, also was on top of this, and we were fighting for a first round bye, I just wanted the stress to be over. I didn't want it to be against the Giants. I was like, okay, I don't mind losing to the Cowboys because, we're not expected to beat the Cowboys with Minshew. Cowboys have a top 20 defense in this league. And, we weren't expected to do anything against that defense. But the Saints, come on. It's yeah, sure, they're playing for the playoffs, but they're 6-9. Come on. Andy Dalton, you're really going to allow Andy Dalton to score or to have 11 straight completions? 13, I think it was? 12? Anything over 10 is bad, okay? I knew it was over 10. Or I know it's over 10. But just, I don't know. If you're starting Minshew and you're not running the ball, I don't care how good that defense, the Saints defense is, their run defense is. You run the fucking ball when you have Minshew and you win. The defense played really, really well because they only allowed 13 points, and that one pick was because of Minshew fucking moron. Minshew moronism. I like that word. I want to start using that word more. Another Caleb vocabulary word, but the defense only allowed 13 points, and it was only that first drive that lasted 9 minutes, 10 minutes, which was horrific. But besides that drive, I guess they did get it going throughout the second half as well, but we were able to stall them and only allow them to have 3 points, and it was short field as well. I'm not too worried about the defense. And I know it's against Andy Dalton, and we got destroyed against the Cowboys. I'm happy with that they're, see the first drive that the offense does and then kind of adjust to it, because I feel like they've been doing that a lot throughout this year where they allow, a team to drive down and have, a flawless drive and then kind of stop them throughout the rest of the game. So I'm not too worried about the defense. It's just the injuries that I'm worried about in that secondary, because they did allow Andy Dalton to get 10-plus completions in a row, which shouldn't happen. But I hope Maddox can come back and Johnson can come back. Both Johnsons can come back. We're just getting the injury plague here late in the season, which is not the ideal time when heading into the playoffs and when you have the first round bye on the line. But I don't know. I wish that the Eagles didn't leave it up to the last possible second to clinch, because I just want them to clinch. That's a really long rant. I'm done.
No, that was everything you needed to say. I think you covered it all.
Yeah.
Because there was the injury bug that I feel like has gone a little swept under the rug by the media.
Yeah.
So, it's a bad time in the season for it to happen, but I do have faith that playoffs will be fine, Personally, I feel like the Eagles have had a pretty good clean sheet as far as injury report goes throughout the season, so they just kind of got used to that. Depth didn't get a lot of minutes, but now they are getting the minutes. So I feel like by the time of playoffs, I think, they'll be better. I think Jalen Hurts will be back at least by playoffs, so that's the most important part of the puzzle. I think Sirianni doesn't get enough credit overall, but this was a really bad game. He should still win Coach of the Year, and the Eagles should be very lucky to have him, but this was not a good play-calling game from the offensive master, as I like to call him.
Yeah, that's what I was most disappointed in, is the lack of play calling from Nick Sirianni. It's just poor play calling. Like, I feel like the playbook was still structured around Jalen Hurts, very much so, and not structured so much around Minshew, which a good coach would. I know it's very difficult to make plays up, but like have at least somewhat of a structure for your backup quarterback who may play, or at least have some plays that fit his style, and not just Jalen Hurts, because there are still a lot of RPOs, and the reason why we got stopped on the run so many times is because Minshew's not an RPO kind of guy. No one's expecting him to fucking take the ball and run with it, but they're still doing RPOs where he had the option to run, and he
would at points. There was a couple of plays where I'm like, Minshew, you just got throw it away, man. You're not that guy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's an error on Nick Sirianni's part. Like, you have to structure at least a little bit for your backup guys, and to have a few plays in case something like this happens where your star quarterback is out for a couple games.
Worked against the Cowboys, but can't expect it to happen all the time,
Yeah, and last thing I'll say with Lane Johnson, when he's not playing, we're 9-21. When he is playing, we're 55-20.
Jason Kelce did give that warning beforehand. He's like, people don't give him enough credit, and we are worse without him. Like, he plainly said that before the game, and I was like, wow, that's really good. It's not just like a next man up mentality, which a lot of people do. And I think that's the right thing to do overall, because it gives you depth, confidence boost, and the adrenaline. But Jason Kelce was just like, yeah, we're fucked. I thought it was sticking up for his boy. I appreciate that.
Hopefully he can come back. But yeah, I love that, and that's why I love Jason Kelce. Yeah,
we can run through a couple of these next ones just because I don't want to go on tangents about all of these. But Falcons beat Cardinals, and they're both basically tanking. They had no playoff chances, so
the Falcon curse is real and very much alive.
Yes,
I keep doubting it, but it's still a real thing.
It's still a real thing.
That's all I gotta say. Kansas City Chiefs versus Denver Broncos. Another close game. I think
both of them were. Yeah. Both of the ones against the Broncos, because the defense does do a good job taking advantage of a lackluster offense compared to past years with Tyreek Hill. They know how to limit the other wide receivers. But here, let me see how close the last one was, because that was also one where so it was also a one-score game where this is what I was looking at. Mahomes had a 3 interception game, and this time he had 1 or 2.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, but Caleb will look into that. But I think if there's anything you don't need to worry about with the Broncos, it's their defense. Obviously, there was the fluke with the Rams, but when your offense is that bad, you can't be so consistent. And I think Wilson will find his way as well with whoever they bring in as the new coach, because I think he's been kind of stepping it up a little, but obviously it's good that one coach got fired.
I agree.
I don't even remember his name. It's like it never happened. Let's keep it that way.
Yes.
Patriots beat the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins still looking to get in the playoffs. Also still the Patriots. So both are now 8-8. Both going to try to get themselves into a winning record next week and get into the playoffs. I think the Dolphins do have the advantage overall, but 5 losses in a row. Miami Dolphins very streaky this season, but new coach, new wide receiver 1, a lot of new pieces. This is kind of like what I expected at the beginning of the year. I think I had them at 9-8. I could be right about that. That's crazy. Just because I thought they would be very hit and miss. I just didn't expect it to be a streaky sort of season. So I think there's a lot to look forward to overall, and they can obviously get better. I don't think they have a lot of older pieces that are like win now. You know what I mean? I think they're all going to be just as good next year. So
I agree.
No need to get too frantic about it, but it would be very nice if they do get into the playoffs, obviously.
Tyreek Hill got a rushing touchdown.
That's true.
Pretty nice. 2 yards.
Buccaneers went off with the Mike Evans to Tom Brady, well, other way around. But Mike Evans connection finally starting to flourish for Tom Brady, whereas Tom Brady really just didn't have a lot of demonstrated rapport this season with any of his receivers. It all looked very bad. Chris Godwin has declined after injury a little. We'll give him a little bit of credit. I think he'll be better next year. But yeah, it's been a very weird season for the offense, and it's just very good for them to start to get it together at the most important time, now that they're clinched into the playoffs. You don't want to play the Bucs. That's what I think, because their defense is good, and it's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as always. They're only 2 years removed from their Super Bowl, so.
I was just about to say, this is the worst time for football fans for Tom Brady to be heating up, because we all know this. We've seen it for the past 2 decades. When Tom Brady's heating up near playoff time, it's game over, regardless of his regular season record. It doesn't really matter. Mike Evans went off. He went 10 receptions, 207 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And if you had him in fantasy, boy, oh boy.
Probably win your league, and we'll have to reset the camera.
Oh. Well, you have to reset the camera.
What? I said we.
I don't know why I was supposed to do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Next, we can talk about how the Washington Commanders were eliminated. There's been a lot of controversy about Ron Rivera not knowing that they could have been eliminated that week. But I think at the end of the day, it's like they were in control of their destiny. They needed to win no matter what the implications were outside of their game. So I don't really know why he's getting a lot of shit for not knowing that they could have been eliminated. I just think, obviously the mentality every week should be win, 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 win. If it's not in your destiny, then maybe you can start to think about it. But I remember, Frank Reich as well. He didn't think about it either when we went into Week 18 against the Jaguars, and how, technically if, the Steelers lost, we could still win with a Jaguars loss. And it was just no, all that matters is winning this game because we're in control of that, That's all we should think about. Who cares about all the other implications? We're just going to start who we think is going to give us the best opportunity to win. And unfortunately, Ron Rivera made the call to start Carson Wentz, and that was not the right one.
He had 3 interceptions.
But at the same time, looking at their roster, I don't necessarily know who would be. I'm glad that Sam Howell will get some snaps next game because he is a prospect that I'm curious about. Especially because he's on my dynasty team, so it'll be cool. It'll be cool if he has this whole, underdog story going into next season. But yeah, I think Carson Wentz's time as a starter is officially done.
I agree because I feel like this is kind of his last straw, and I feel like it was kind of already his last straw with beginning this season, but more so when he was joining the Colts. That was kind of his second chance, big let's carry this team to the playoffs.
It was shocking to me that someone traded for him with the intention of him being the starter.
Yeah.
I was shocked by that, and I'm happy as a Colts fan because we got the capital. But wow,
it's weird to see because it's he was second pick overall for the Eagles, and he had so much talent, so much I don't know, promise, and then he had that MVP season. Well, not MVP, practically an MVP season. But in that 2017 year when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and everything was looking up. But I think Nick Foles just wrecked him. He was just you bitch. Philadelphia's my city. And ever since then, he could not.
He has great physical traits. The mentality. That's where it's at. Doesn't have it.
I agree.
But we can move on now to Jaguars. Houston Jaguars win. They're now 8-8. Technically, they have a better record than the Titans, but it doesn't matter. They'll go into their game against Titans to win the division, and that's all that matters. Beating the Texans is just the icing on the cake, but at the same time, that's what the Texans want. They want to keep the number 1 draft pick. Technically, the Bears could still take it from them if the Colts do a great job with their tank job. That's the hope. But we'll see. I think the Texans will be fine with number 2. We kind of discussed that last week anyways. I don't think the Bears are going to be taking a quarterback. That's what Houston's going to take no matter what. So, obviously, Bears could obviously trade it away, blah, 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 blah.
I think this was a good morale run as well. I feel like it like keeps the energy of everyone and keeps like that winning streak a lot, or like that winning streak mentality and like that energy. I feel like they're hitting their stride at the perfect time, even though it was against the Texans. But it was still 31-3. Like that's how you're supposed to beat the Texans, and they did just that.
And to be fair, like the Texans have been very competitive while tanking, like making it very close against the Cowboys and the Chiefs. Like I think that shouldn't get ignored. Like the Jaguars took care of business, only holding them to a field goal. Like it could have been a close game.
Yeah, I agree.
And it wasn't.
Yeah. Next game, San Francisco 49ers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The San Francisco 49ers,
I think it was an OT win, right?
Yeah. 37-34. Devontae Adams.
Poor Raiders.
Yeah, I feel like Raiders always get into like these OT games, but Devontae Adams went off 2 touchdowns over like 150 yards, I believe. So he went off, and I feel like he always goes off in these close games, but never goes off, and if it's not OT. But yeah, this was a nail-biting game in which I feel like Raiders have been in a lot of these high-scoring like OT kind of games. And if you're a Raiders fan, you hate it. But if you're an NFL fan and just a fan of football, you love it, because boy, oh boy, this was exciting. I feel like I feel like this is like when the NFL says a perfect game for profit and just for its league. I think this is the perfect game. 37-34 going in OT, high scoring. OT, more time. 2
defenses that are like, they have like big names as well, so it's not like the defense is just flat out bad, They have big names. They're just like, just highly competitive and, offensive favorite. Yeah, I agree with you there. Thank you. Then the Seahawks beat the Jets. Battle of the 7-8 teams who started out strong and recently have been failing expectations. And we had a dispute about this. I said the Seahawks would win that. You said the Jets would win that. And who was right?
That's not the point of this prediction game.
Well, I think the audience would like to know now that I brought it up.
Well, I mean, it's like on the screen they can see.
Oh, they can see?
Yeah.
Oh, so I was right.
Yeah, Titus was right. I picked the Jets, and yeah, I did not do good. On that note, I did not do too good this week. I went 9-6. Titus went 11-4. And yeah, now you're how many games?
Only 3 games behind.
Yeah, you're 3 games behind now. So this is exactly what we want. I was talking about a perfect game for the NFL in the Raiders and 49ers. But for the Caleb and Titus prediction competition, this is nail biting. This is what we wanted. That's not necessarily what I wanted, because I wanted to blow them out and not be this so nervous, but this is what Titus wanted. And yeah, it's going to be coming up the last week. But yeah,
we can move forward. The Vikings had an embarrassing loss against the Packers. Justin Jefferson, a candidate for MVP, no longer because he was held to 1 catch. And still, I think he's the favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year still. But, those MVP discussions were quickly shut down this week.
What did I say last week?
I don't know. What did you say?
I said I want to do some reverse psychology and pick the Vikings, and thus the Vikings will actually show why they are so bad and they shouldn't be a team.
I actually don't remember you saying this.
Yeah, I remember it because I remember editing it.
Play the clip.
I don't feel like playing that.
We'll see how you feel in the future.
Wait, okay. We talk about the next game. I just want to see all like the Vikings' bad games and see if like I pick them to win and see if I'm the reason why they have bad games. Because I was curious to see if I picked them to beat Dallas.
You don't even know where to go in order to do that.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, he does.
When was the week that they played the Cowboys?
What are you asking?
I'll figure it.
I just know that off the top of my head. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, week 12. Like, no. Okay, so the Chargers beat the Rams. That was, I don't know, that's straightforward. Like, that's kind of what we expect. Like, Chargers, obviously they clinched the playoffs, but they want to keep going. Justin Herbert knows that offense needs to keep stepping it up, and that's what they've been doing. Rams are still a good defense, even without their key player, Aaron Donald. We saw what they did against Broncos. Good on the Chargers, heating up and going into the playoffs. I think that's important. I think they could have like a Bengals sort of run, like maybe not into the Super Bowl, but at least into the AFC Championship. I think they could do it. Upset some teams along the way. Maybe the Bills, maybe the Chiefs, maybe even the Bengals. Who knows? I think those are the top 3 right now. So we'll see.
I hope that Herbert goes to the Super Bowl.
That'd be cool. Steelers beat the Ravens. Ravens played Huntley. Huntley had a difficult game. I don't think it was terrible, but Steelers ultimately got the last laugh. Pickett, 2 comeback drives in 2 consecutive games. The rookie out of Pittsburgh, hometown hero. That's what we like to see.
Yes, sir.
Going to give Mike Tomlin a chance to keep the streak alive, winning records.
Yes, that's all I was going to say.
We're
about that
not
game.
losing records.
Yeah.
I guess technically if he ties, the streak is still alive, but
Yeah.
More
But-
wine.
Yes, more wine. And I picked the Vikings to beat the Cowboys. And the Cowboys ended up beating them 40-3. So I just have to pick against the Vikings, and then they will lose. That's. I feel like I'm just going to do that in the playoffs, and they're going to get destroyed in the playoffs.
Damn. All right, we can talk about the MVP race. Very short because of the tragedy that occurred during the Bengals-Bills game, which features 2 MVP candidates. But I think it's basically an open shut case anyways, just because another MVP candidate, Jalen Hurts, still out with injury. Another MVP candidate from last week, Justin Jefferson, held to 1 catch. So he's just an offensive player of the year candidate in my mind at this juncture. Nick Bosa is still the runaway defensive player of the year candidate. Patrick Mahomes on top. That's all I gotta say. Honestly,
Yeah.
I can kind of go over a little bit more to give you some time to
Yeah, I
do
just need,
your
like-
homework. But
I just need like 2 minutes.
Mahomes didn't necessarily have an amazing game against the Broncos with the interception and all of that, but I mean the offensive efficiency is still there. He even ended up with a higher passer rating after this game than coming into the game. So I think that's what matters the most. Like, yeah, I mean, he doesn't keep the ball as secure as maybe like Hurts had, or even Tua to start the year. But I think at the end of the day, like with the amount of volume that comes with his passing game, like that shouldn't exactly matter. I think you have to take things in proportion, and he hasn't fumbled the ball at all, and I think that's very impressive. The ball security is still there. He's only allowed 24 sacks. I don't think his offensive line is amazing. Like, it's definitely no Eagles when they're fully healthy. And on that side of it, like Jalen Hurts through 14 games had 35 sacks. Mahomes through 16, only 24. Like, think about that for a second. Yeah, he's been just having an amazing year. Far better than Aaron Rodgers' season last year when he won MVP. So for me, that's enough to just like kind of crown him right now. Because I don't really think like Burrow or Allen can like do too much to really push themselves in the conversation. Obviously, as I was talking about last week, whoever gets number 1 seed, that's a huge plus for the resume. But I think the Mahomes dream is just too strong right now. He's going to get his second one, which is very deserving. I mean,
Yeah.
we know what type of quarterback this guy is. He's definitely not one to just end his career with only 1 MVP. He's going to get probably a third. Let's be honest. So you just gotta get used to it, guys. There's no underdog story here. Mahomes is the truth.
Maybe even a third.
That's what I said.
Oh, I meant a fourth.
Oh, okay.
I meant fourth. I don't know why I said third. That was good analysis.
Yeah, maybe he'll tie Peyton Manning with 5.
Damn, he had 5.
Yeah, Manning had 5. That's his record. That's like the one record he still has over Tom Brady. Just MVPs.
MVPs. Well, Brady only has like 2. That's crazy.
No, I think he has 3.
3.
Because like I think he had a couple when he was younger, and then one like 2018 going into the Rams Super Bowl, I think.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool one. It was like one of his last seasons with the Patriots. No one really thought he would have as good of a season at that point. Like obviously consistent, but like not dominant. Yeah, you'll have to look up how many MVPs Brady has. Manning has the record with 5. I think a couple of them were back to back too. So
Damn, back-to-back MVPs.
crazy, right?
Did Aaron Donald have back-to-back?
Defensive Player of the Year, yes.
That's crazy.
not MVP though, which
Yeah.
is sad because I feel like Aaron Donald deserved one MVP in his career, but you know how it goes, quarterback favorite, blah 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 blah. You can be as mad about it as you want Micah Parsons, but that's the way it goes.
Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
What? Oh, you want to get into
the predictions?
That was a terrible transition. I thought you were working on that.
Oh.
Come on, you just said that. Like, I was still talking about MVPs or like Las Vegas Raiders. Like, where is the transition?
I thought I could just say that on your beat when you like took a breath, and I thought it would be so funny.
All right, well, week 18 predictions. The last week of the regular season, we made it. Pop a bottle. Obviously, wow.
Hi, Titus.
Okay. I just got a text notification. I was like, who are you? Yeah, pop a bottle. Let's celebrate. We made it to the end. Obviously, a lot of difficult things happened in between week 1 and now.
I feel like
as with every season, but, you know, we made it.
Yeah,
I think we can be happy with that. Like, I think a lot of players can rejoice.
I agree. I was just about to say, I feel like we're still in week 2. It's just like flew by so fast. Like, I don't know. I feel like we're still like middle of the season or like early.
A month from now, we're gonna be like, oh man, I miss football.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Time goes too fast, especially when you get older. Las Vegas Raiders.
We can kind of speed run this, but
yeah, because we're going to live stream, so we're going to get more content out of us.
But also,
and
like,
shortly.
a lot of these are just, like, very, like...
Easy,
because it's the end of the season. A lot of people are eliminated, don't have much to play for. But what I do want to say ahead of this is, as you can see, there are 3 forced disputes. Because I'm 3 games behind in the overall competition of this season. And I didn't just, like, choose them willy-nilly, because that's not fair to you. I chose the 3 that, according to Las Vegas, are, like, the closest games as far as, like... the lines go, the odds.
50-50s.
Yeah, exactly, the 50-50s. So basically, you control your destiny here to keep it, unless obviously there could be disputes in the other matches. But this is just a guaranteed path for me and a guaranteed path for you to secure it, essentially.
Yeah. So if we only have these 3 disputes, and I just need to win 1, right?
Yeah.
One of them, and then I win a 3-peat. But yeah,
you would still tie if you got none. Because technically this isn't a path for me to win, but at least even it.
Oh yeah, that is true. Coin flips that I knew that we always like said something for 50-50s.
Yes, coin flips.
The coin flips. That's our coin flip or coin term.
We'll talk about them when we get to them, but yes, the Raiders and the Chiefs. You chose the Chiefs. I also chose the Chiefs because they're 13-3, still competing for that number 1 seed. May have been different had, Monday night gone the way it did, but this is where we're at. Just gotta deal with it. Play your heart out. Just play for the best record no matter what. Is why I don't like when people rest their players regular season. I don't like it. I'm sorry.
I agree. And especially if you have a lot of fantasy players.
Especially if you already have the bye week.
Yeah.
For your playoffs as the number 1 seed, like.
At least play a half.
At least a half. I agree with that. At least a half. Now the Jaguars and the Titans, big stakes. That's why it's prime time at night, a Saturday night. Who's gonna win the division? The worst division in football, some may say. Although honestly, it might be the NFC South.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's NFC. Well, no, okay.
They're both bad.
Yeah, they're both bad. You got like the Texans and the Colts in there.
Okay. On the other side, you have the Falcons and the Panthers. The Panthers were the first one to fire their coach, so we can go back and forth all day. But we both say Jaguars will win it, which will be crazy. The Jaguars winning the division. Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson.
We said this. I think. What? Fuck. I forget what we said or what we said. Fuck. What did? I forgot what we said. We said something, but I'm rooting for Dougie P, and that's why I'm on the Jags bandwagon. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Tennessee Titans have not. Oh, I know what we said previously. So yeah, it's crazy to like see the transformation of like being with the Dougie P head coaching position, because he literally took a team from back-to-back first pick of the NFL drafts in back-to-back years, and he took that team to a playoff game, like, that's crazy. Possibly. I think the Jags are gonna win this easily because the Titans have not been playing good. I think they lost 5 in a row, 6 in a row now, 5 in a row. Yeah, 5 in a row. So I don't know. I have no faith in the Titans. That's all I gotta say. That was something, wasn't it?
On the other side of the AFC South, we have a forced dispute.
Ooh.
Caleb, you have the chance to choose between the Houston Texans 2-13-1 versus the Indianapolis Colts 4-11-1. Both of their ties coming against each other in Week 1. It's the rematch.
Upset alert!
Upset alert! Oh no!
I got the Texans winning this one.
Really?
Yeah. This is my upset of the week, and I feel like I haven't had like an upset where it was. I guess this is not like an upset.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Think about, but if the Texans do win, the Colts are only up by 1. Only 1 game. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe this isn't that much of an upset that I'm saying it. But I feel like I've been just like saying my upset of the week, but it's really more of like a coin flip where like a team is only like a little bit worse than the other team. But I feel like this is my biggest upset in the last few weeks just
True.
because of the roster and just how bad the Texans were playing and just like the roster.
Led the league in Pro Bowlers last year.
Exactly.
We have one this year.
Yeah.
And it's not the person who should have gotten it, in my mind. Even though I love Quentin Nelson. Hope we keep him. Should have been Grover Stewart or even Zaire Franklin on the defense. But definitely should not have been any of the linemen. That's crazy.
I think you should boycott the NFL.
Well, you made me do what I don't want to do, which is choose the Indianapolis Colts to win.
You're welcome.
Because now they will. No, that's actually not true. I've chosen the Colts in all of their primetime games, and they've lost. Did you know that?
Yeah. That's why
Except against the Broncos, actually.
That's why I picked the Texans. Because I'm like, you're going to force to have to pick the Colts, and then when you
And then
usually
they'll lose.
and the Colts will lose.
So, yeah, then you'll get the dub.
Yeah.
And then the Colts will get a higher draft pick.
Yeah, so
So
it's a
overall,
win-win.
yeah, I'm not mad.
Yeah. It's a win-win-win.
Cool. Atlanta Falcons 6-10 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 8-8. I think they're like locked, the Buccaneers, into their playoff positioning. I don't think they can go higher than number 4, just because of how low of a divisional winner compared to the rest of the NFC they are. So they could be in a position to rest all their players, but I don't know if they should because
They're bad.
9-8 looks a lot better than 8-9, and they just need to keep the fire alive going into the playoffs, in my mind. So I have the Bucks. You do too.
I have the Bucks as well. Ain't no way that I'm picking the Falcons because the Falcons curse is so strong, and it's literally been slapping me in the face the past couple of weeks. I'm like,
It's too good.
I'm like, this curse has been going on for 3 whole years. That's like dozens of games that we predicted for the Falcons, and I'm like testing it again. Like the curse is like, you should know better, Caleb. Come on.
Right.
It's the curse.
And the Buffalo Bills still have a chance to get number 1 seed, and the Patriots have a chance to make it into the playoffs in a very weird season. I feel like they would be the worst playoff team
Yeah, that makes
in
sense.
the entire league.
Oddly enough, the Bucks are also in the same position as well.
Yeah, they have the same record, but I still feel like the Buccaneers are a better team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, we both have Buffalo in this position.
Yes. Chicago Bears versus the Minnesota Vikings. I got the Minnesota Vikings winning, and the same reasoning why I picked the Minnesota Vikings last week. It's because I want them to lose.
They won't, though. Chicago's tanking so... They're tanking, like, even more obviously than the Texans are.
Oh, that is true. But I just want the Vikings to lose. I don't know why.
Listen, the Vikings are in the playoffs no matter what. Just focus on that, all right?
Yeah, they're going to lose in the playoffs.
Okay, that's all that matters. What does it matter if they lose here? You know what I mean?
Because I think it'll be funny.
All right.
Because it's like they lose 3 straight. 1 to the Chicago Bears, 1 in the playoff game. That'll be funny.
Whatever. Next we have two playoff teams that have been very disappointing in recent weeks, the latter half of the season, is the Miami Dolphins 8-8 versus the New York Jets 7-9. Well, forced dispute. Caleb, you have the chance to choose between these two very, 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 very disappointing teams. One led by not Tua Tagovailoa, but I don't even think it's Teddy Bridgewater. I think it's the other guy, Skylar Thompson. And the other one not led by Joe Flacco, not led by Zach Wilson, but Mike White.
Yeah.
So, who do you pick?
I was half expecting you to say not Mike White either. And just list the fourth QB on their roster.
The fourth QB is, who would it even be? Like,
I don't even.
their running back, Zonovan Knight. Like,
the water boy. But I got the Miami Dolphins winning this. I just don't see them losing and not getting into the playoffs, I feel. And the Jets, I feel like the Jets have played worse than the Dolphins.
Jets are eliminated, but honestly, I think I would have chosen the Jets here if it was up to me, which it wasn't because of a forced dispute. I think I would have chosen the Jets here because I think the Miami side has been really rough on offense, and the Jets have been pretty consistent on defense even when their offense is lacking. So I'm scared for how Miami's going to perform against this Jets defense, honestly. But we can continue. New Orleans Saints, what? 7-9? How'd that happen?
Fuck the Saints and fuck you.
Okay, well,
Fuck
chill
you.
out. I'm not the one who chose the Saints to win, even though that's against the Eagles' whole draft situation, all right?
I don't think I can do this podcast anymore.
All right, well, they're playing the Carolina Panthers. They're 6-10. They could end up with the same record if the Panthers win, that being 7-10, which is pretty mediocre, but not the worst in the world. Those maybe on the come up, or maybe they'll both get substantially worse over the offseason. It could go either way, honestly. Who do you got?
I got the Saints.
Me too.
Damn it. I want another dispute to make it more
Really?
fun. Yeah.
I don't think you want disputes though.
I don't need disputes. I'm rooting for no disputes. I just want one dispute to make it interesting, to be like, you have a chance of winning.
Sure.
But I got the Saints. I don't know why I got the Saints, because like, honestly, I know I've been saying this literally every single fucking podcast for 18 weeks straight, but like, the Saints dictate the Eagles' first round draft pick.
They do.
And so I just want them to lose. So I'm shocked that I haven't picked the Panthers, because I usually pick the Panthers to, or not usually pick the Panthers, usually pick against the Saints winning. I just feel like they're actually like a really good team. I feel like they're a top 5 team in the NFL right now. It's just
The Saints?
Yeah.
You say that now?
Yeah, it's
coincidentally.
Yeah, after last game, it just, I don't even know. Like,
that's crazy. We can move on, right?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin has a chance to keep the streak alive by going 9-8. Obviously, we've been talking about that like for 10 weeks now, probably since the beginning of the season. And then the Cleveland Browns, a chance to advance to 8-9, just get some momentum going with their new starter, Deshaun Watson.
Fuck Watson.
Who do you got?
I got the Pittsburgh Steelers just due to that streak. I am not rooting against, or I'm not betting against Mike.
No betting against Mike Tomlin.
Like,
it just can't be done.
And he's proven me right the last 3 or 4 games, because I picked the Steelers. I might have not picked the Steelers like once in those 4 straight games, but yeah, they're on a decent run streak, and I feel like the Steelers the Browns are eliminated, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So the Steelers are still they control their own destiny, and yeah, they're still rooting or going for a playoff spot, and yeah, I don't know. I just don't think they're gonna hold back, especially last game of the season when playoff implications are on the table.
True. Next, we got the Cincinnati Bengals against the Baltimore Ravens. The time is still to be determined. I don't know what the implications here are, but it could be in the morning, it could be the afternoon of Sunday. But this matters a lot for the division. Either one of these teams could win the division, depending on what happens with the whole rescheduling business of the Bengals-Bills game, but also if the Ravens win this game, that's what matters. If Bengals beats them, then we don't even have to talk about it anymore. Bengals are the division winner, which, I think most people would have predicted anyways, especially Lamar Jackson has been out for like 30 days now. So just to even be in the playoffs still is pretty good for them. I would just be thankful you're still alive. Yeah, these two teams. You got the Bengals.
Yeah, I got the Bengals.
Me too.
And the reason why I got the Bengals is due to the Ravens' low scoring affairs. They have not been able to put up any points. And the last 4 games, they scored under 17 points.
Hey, look at the camera. What do you think it's saying?
It's saying you need to reset it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we almost did that in synchronous.
It almost looks like you waited for me to do it, and then you missed. Yeah, we both have Bengals because, what you were saying. Ravens.
Can't score.
Not scoring at all.
Bengals, one of the top offenses in the league. So, ain't no way you're stopping Joe E.B. and
JB.
And Jay Chase. Jace.
The Broncos will be playing the Chargers, who, Justin Herbert's been saying he just wants to keep the offense alive and knows how big of a challenge the Broncos defense is. So I have no doubt that the Chargers are going to be playing to win. And Broncos, it's safe to assume they might be playing to lose. Honestly, just why not? You don't even have a head coach. This is kind of just one of those games where you're just going through the motions. Yeah, so who do you... Oh, my God, forced us, Peter! Oh, my gosh, you get to choose who I pick, basically, as well as who you pick, but they're one and the same.
I got a couple of short things to say. 1, fuck Trey. 2, in what worlds would I ever pick the Denver Broncos in 2022 to win a football game? I would never. That's why I'm picking the Denver Broncos. No, I'm just joking.
Because it is 2023, so he got you there.
But I'm picking the Chargers because ain't no way the Chargers are losing to the Denver Broncos.
Well, looks like I have to cheer for Russ. Russ is going to do it, I believe.
Russ had a really good game last game.
I love the Broncos, and I love Trey for setting up these great lights.
Thank you, Trey.
They're going to win. They're going to do it just for Trey, just to give him some hope going into next season, now that they're going to get a decent coach. Frank Reich, maybe?
Ooh. Maybe.
We know how good he is with quarterbacks that have not been playing great. They call him the QB whisperer. So yeah. Moving on.
Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants.
Got the Eagles. Get that number 1 seed.
Yes.
Get
yes,
it.
Sir. This is really good because the Giants, they already clinched the playoffs. They have nothing to be playing for. They can't get a better seed because it's basically they can't get the division because it's basically first the Cowboys and the Eagles at that point. So they literally can't proceed any better than what they are. So Giants, I swear to fucking God, if you fucking make this difficult for me, I'm going to have a bounty on your guys' mascot.
Did you know there's still a chance the Cowboys could get the number 1 seed?
Yeah, and I don't like
it's
it.
It's a 1% chance according to playoffstatus.com.
Eagles have a 77% chance, damn.
Not bad.
Interesting.
Yes, Giants are locked into the 6th spot, meaning who would they play? They'll play the 3rd seed, which is looking to be the Vikings. That would be a terrible quarterback matchup, but
at least 5 interceptions combined.
But it's good that at least one of them are guaranteed to get eliminated. I am on the wrong spreadsheet. Let's talk about the Eagles. Eagles, they have, I think even Giants playing full force, Eagles are favored.
I agree.
I think even Hurts playing limited. I would still say Eagles favored because I think the Giants are good, well coached, all that. Eagles overall better. even after their Saints loss, I think they'll put it together.
Yeah, I just think I want that bye just because we have some players injured right now, and I want them to rest and get healthy for that push. Because we need Johnson back. We need Hurts to be full forced. But I feel like this is the perfect situation for the Eagles, honestly. I was mad about us losing to the Saints, obviously, but honestly, I'm not too mad because it allows us to play, and I think that we can beat the Giants, and so we actually have something to play for, so we're going to actually be playing our starters. So that we're not going to rest our starters, and we're there at least get some active time in the next 2 weeks, you know?
Amen.
That's all I got to say.
Wow, what do you know? Next game we have the Seahawks 8-8 trying to clinch the playoffs. All they need to do is win and hope the Packers lose. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Seahawks, who were looking like the worst team in the league, that's what everyone is saying going into this, being led by Geno Smith. Everyone was like, they're going to go 2-13 or 2-15.
Specifically me.
Yeah,
that
was the exact record Caleb said they would have. 2-15. So, and then what did you say for the Rams? Actually, 5-11 now. They were supposed to go 10-7 in Caleb's book.
Yeah.
Crazy how things change over the course of the season.
You really like to rub that in my face.
No, I'm just saying. Like,
why do you like
I find
rubbing
it
that
interesting because I pointed out how I said the Colts and Broncos were going to win their respective divisions. I have not hit that. All right, I haven't hit that. We're both in the wrong here. But we're also both somewhat in the right because the 49ers could get the first overall seed. Isn't that what you want, Caleb? You did predict that, so that's what you get. Yeah, we both have the Seahawks here just because they're playing for something Rams aren't.
Yeah.
It comes down to that.
Next
but
game.
At the same time, Rams, they could be little dickheads, be like, hey, we don't like you, you're in our division, fuck you.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. That's exact verbatim word.
And Mayfield's like, I've only been here 3 games, but I don't like those Seahawks. We're going to take them down.
Only being in the AFC for his entire life.
He started with the Panthers this season.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But, yeah, I mean, still, just a season.
We got the 8-8 teams.
Oh, yeah, 2 8-8 teams that could be 9-8 or 8-9, depending on how they do.
Yeah, 4 times 8 is 32. Because there's 4
Right.
8s.
So what are you trying to prove here?
I don't know.
Are you trying to prove that they played 32 games?
Yeah, they've played 32 games combined.
Because you're wrong. Played 31. Think about it. Because both of them had to have played before. Because they're divisional rivals. So you're wrong. Get fucked. You're wrong. You're wrong. We both have the Lions because we don't want the Packers in the playoffs.
We just don't want Rodgers. Let's be frank. I don't want Rodgers. He takes perks every single morning, and I don't like a man who takes perks.
Don't do drugs.
But yeah, I got the Lions because I feel like we're both like Lions like fans.
No, yeah,
Stands.
I got family in Detroit, so I mean, I'm only gonna say Brown, probably my favorite player in the league outside of any of the Colts players. So yeah, I will agree with you there.
I mean, what's not to like about the Lions? Exactly.
They haven't been in the playoffs in a long time. I don't like that.
That is true.
But that could all change here.
At this very moment in time, right now, in the split second.
Oh.
I say
they lost. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, that's the end of the podcast. Do you want to talk about fantasy?
No. We didn't have any other disputes except the force ones. That's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah. It is pretty crazy.
Huh.
I'm kind of want to change.
Do you want to talk about the playoffs? Because you're leading your championship.
I'm almost about to win.
Finally. Only took you 3 seasons.
It's all the drama. It's perfect because like League of the Wings is ending, the podcast, and it's like the final like go. But yeah, I'm leading 103-93. I mean, Steven can obviously still come back because like I came back from a 16-point deficit, so it's still a lot in his like favor. Not in his favor, but like he still can come back. But I'm one game away from winning the championship, and it makes me feel so good. Like
You have a 20-point projected lead over him.
really, I just want to win. I just want to win in this league so badly. Cause 3 years and it's just come down to this, and it's like I've said this in the podcast. Like I literally have to win on luck, and I said I'm a time traveler. Next week is gonna prove it, because I said that I know that I'm going to win in this league, and that's why I picked like the correct players to win, and I put the correct players to like play in each week. But it's like I could have the chance of the trophy.
Brendan would have washed all of us if he made the playoffs.
Yeah, his team just lit up like the last
Three.
three.
Oh. Yeah. So there you go. That's the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
That's
This podcast has been long.
Yeah, we just don't know how to stop.
We're just two talkative bees in a beehive. All right. Do you have anything else to say?
No, don't force it.
What do you mean don't force it? I always ask you.
Don't force it.
Bye.
See y'all later. We'll talk about the playoffs next week.
Thank you.